All right, welcome to this training video. Today what I want to talk about is using SketchUp, and then specifically how do you prepare to send your documents to layout and actually get construction documents out of it. First, what I want to say is I am by no means a professional at this, and not really the best SketchUp guy out there ever, but I did want to give you guys just some few tips just to make it a little bit easier for you guys. So the first thing is layers, sections, and then scenes. And I think if you guys use these three tools, that you can really get pretty decent construction documents out of some of your models. So let's go ahead and take a look actually in SketchUp, and right here what I have for you is just a very small prepared model. Really basic, don't want to get too much into it, just want to show you some of the tools. And so first thing is layers. As you can see here, I actually have the layers window on right here, so you can turn on a bunch of windows. As you can see, there's quite a bit. I only have a few turned on here, but what's nice about this is you can turn on and off sections of your model, and that's really nice because you can put the dimensions on, and you can also hide them. So whatever you do, put it on a layer, and you don't have to get super complicated with it. You can just do really basic layers. I also have another window up here. It's called Entity Info. The reason I have that is because it's really easy just to edit the layer that I want to be on, instead of right-clicking, going into Entity Info, and then it's just going to bring up this box anyway. So I just have it up here automatically. And so that's basically what I would say is use the layers, and think of things almost as like a scene in your plans. Like, what are you trying to show? Don't just go and build a model without thinking about what you want to show and how you want to show it. And then that's what I want to get into is next scene. So imagine, but this is a scene tool right here, and once again you can go Windows Scenes and turn this on. And so basically how I look at scenes is like a snapshot of what my documents I want them to look like. And so what's really nice, you have this scene bar up here, and you can just scan through the scenes. And so this very basically is called floor plan, because this is exactly how I want my floor plan to look on my plans. Front elevation, rear elevation, left elevation, right elevation, and then I have a section. So what's really nice about these is, consider it like a snapshot in time of your plan. And you can, once you take a snapshot of it, it's going to just show that right there. So example here, in some of the things you can change what layers are showing. So if I don't want dimensions on this ISO, then I just click them off, and then you can really go right here and go update the scene, and that's going to take a snapshot of everything right here. So one of those things it's going to do is it's also going to do visible layers. It's going to take a snapshot of the visible layers, and then show you that every time. So example, if I go over here and turn dimensions on, then switch back, notice how they're off, because this is a snapshot in time with the layers off, or at least the dimension layers off. And so that's really neat, because you can kind of, once you work on something, if you do the layers correctly and then you do the scene correctly, like this it doesn't matter what you add on to here, if it's not checked off and updated in the scene, it won't show in there. So one really easy thing to do here is to just do a floor plan. And so basically what I did for the floor plan is using the section tool. And so section plane is what it's called. And so name it whatever you want. Typically the symbols are S1, 2, 3, 4. So we can call this one S3, call it section 3, or you call it floor plan or something like that. So, and now you can align it with the different planes that you have. And so I already have one this way, and I already have one this way. So let's do one this way. We'll get a cross section of the building, and once you have it there, you can move it. I'm going to get the move tool out. Ooh, that didn't work. And actually move this guy. Here we go. I'm going to move it right into the middle, typically where your windows are. And then what you can do from here is you go ahead and go like right click on this surface and align view. And then whenever these are gray, that means they're non-active. So you right click, activate cut, boom. So now it's going to show you the cut. And then what you can do from here is you can actually make a scene of this. So let's go ahead and make a new scene, and we'll go plus add scene. Let's do this as section 3. And so here, right here, typically you want all of these selected unless you're getting into a few different areas and different modeling techniques. So go ahead and save that. And I want mine all the way down here right after section 2. So as you can see here, I can kind of snap between the sections, and that's really nice. If you don't want these to show up on your plan, you can always go and hide them. So you go right click, hide, or one thing that we need to do is actually put this on the correct layer. So shouldn't be on the walls layer, this should be on the sections layer. And so as you can see here, my sections are hidden. Now they're all here. So that just makes it look a little bit cleaner. And then you can go in here and just add a dimension. 8-foot wall, just like that. But then once again, okay, you really need to put the correct, you need to correctly label this. So it's not under walls, we want it to be under dimensions. And so, and so for example, on this particular scene, I want this dimension to be shown. So I'll go right here and go update scene and update. Okay, one thing I did want to mention is, as you look at this, like this wouldn't look good in your plan view because it's actually 3D. And so the question is, how do you get it to be, not 3D and 2D? So you can go up here to the camera and then just hit parallel projection, and bam, there it is. Now it's more than this 2D window. But then once again, you should always go ahead and click update scene because this is actually saving the camera location as well as a ton of other things. So now when I jump through, my model is technically in perspective, but then when I jump into my sections are actually parallel projection, which gets you more of that 2D element. And so this now is kind of this new updated scene. Is just this really quick section and then with the dimension on it. And obviously you can add a ton of stuff and really turn these into whatever you want them to be. And so notice how I just added that dimension but it didn't show up here. That's because I have dimensions turned off on this scene. And that's pretty much it. That's really basically how I do it. Obviously that's a very basic overview, and things can get much more detailed, much more intense. But now we would actually go, and this has you set up pretty good to take this into layout, at least for a very small project that's very basic. So let's go ahead and let's take it over to layout. So I always file, save as. My computer's doing something weird where I actually have to save everything again instead of just hitting save. So replace, that's what I want to do. Now let's go here, file, send to layout. And so you can choose whatever you want. Okay, so we just brought our model into layout, and then the question is really, what do we do next? And so typically you always start out with some type of scene here. Typically it's whatever last scene that you were on, or kind of the last viewport that you were on. It's just going to bring it right into layout. And so typically from here you can go right click, and then you can get to your scenes here. And so typically everyone has their model in there, they get their floor plan, and so this is where I can just go ahead and start to lay out, okay, I want my floor plan in there. So bam, there it is. It's all dimensioned, it's ready to go, and it looks exactly like I want it to look. And so from there you can just Command C, I like to do this, and just copy. And so now we got another one right here, and I can align that. And now let's get a new scene. So let's go scene. Let's do one of those section cuts. And so bam, just like that. And so let me see, it might be, and you can change to whatever different scene you think is appropriate, to kind of line up your documents this way. And so and that's pretty much the basics of it. Obviously, you can play with this a lot more and get title blocks. One thing that I did want to point out I think is super valuable is, in making a really basic set of plans, sometimes it might just be a floor plan, a few sections, and then some details. And so Scrapbook is kind of the best thing for that. So you can turn it on over here in the window tool. And then, if you're going to get really into this, then use it in a great way, where you can just save a ton of really good details and then bring those out so you don't have to redraw them, or you don't have to waste time doing it in other places. So SketchUp has a bunch of decent ones in here, where there's letter blocks and stuff like this, and you guys can bring this stuff out and play with that and fill all this stuff in. But and that's useful, but I think the real cool part of it is being able to have your own specs in there as well as your own detail. So I don't have one for framing right now, but I do have one for decks. And so what's nice about this, if I want to show you guys kind of what I want the concrete to look like in a post, and I can just bring this out, and and this is the same for all of my projects. So got that one right there. That was really easy. Didn't have to draw anything. Or I kind of have some. This is probably more along the lines of specifications here, where I can bring this guy out, resize it, and I'm really, what it allows you to do is give people really good information without doing a ton of work. Like if I've used this image once, then I shouldn't have to find it again and put it into my model again and redraw stuff. Like I should just save it, and then get it right in here. So right there, like I've given you a ton of information. Obviously, it's not relevant to framing these walls, but if you were going to build a deck, like this would be a great detail. And someone else did this. This not my work. Just found it as a model or something like that. So that's basically how I do it. Get your floor plans in here, get your scenes set up, and then work with Scrapbook and bring in all the detailed information. This will really save you guys a lot of time. Thanks a lot for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me.